Food insecurity. Well, we've had a touch of this. We've had several touches of it, actually. First we had a big wake-up call in 2008. There have been a number of smaller ones since then, and there's been a much bigger one with the Ukraine war and the major climatic disruption that's taken place in the last 2 years. So these climatic disruptions are really starting to snowball. As I mentioned, we're running out of fresh water. Big time, big time. There are countries like India, Pakistan, China, the Middle East, which are critically short of water, and they cannot afford to use any of their scarce water to grow food any longer. That's why China is buying up farms all around the world, because they know they cannot grow the food they need within China itself. That's why they're buying farms in Chile, in the Philippines, in New Zealand, in Australia, probably in Canada for all I know. India and Pakistan are really on a knife edge at the moment because their water is fully used up. New Delhi is very close, within 2 years of running out of water. And, we've seen other cities like that, Sao Paulo, Cape Town, and so on, which are just running out of their local water supplies. And those water supplies are being subtracted from what the farmers need. That's the case in China. There is a crunch coming with food production. We can no longer feed humanity using the technology known as agriculture, which is a Bronze Age technology. It's been pretty good for the last 6,000, 7,000 years. But it's not going to feed 10 billion people on a hot, resource-scarce planet. Okay, technology threats. These often get terribly downplayed because people don't realise what they mean to our futures. Talk about artificial intelligence. There are lots of downsides as well as pluses. You hear all about all the positives, but they never tell you what the downsides are. One of the downsides is universal surveillance. Now, when those quantum computers come online, every single one of us is going to be monitored every second of our life from birth. We get all those video cameras, which they can't be used properly at the moment because you haven't got enough police constables to view the footage. You'll have them AI. They'll be stored in the expanded cloud that quantum computers will create, and you'll have mining software that will find anybody anywhere on Earth. If you put people under surveillance like this, they stop talking openly and honestly about the risks and the problems that they see around them. Nanoparticles are so small that they are passing. Just think of the plastic that goes into the oceans. It doesn't float around as bags and bottles. It grinds down into ever smaller microscopic particles that end up in fish, and the fish go on our tables, and the particles end up in our brain. And that chain has been demonstrated by science. Megacity collapse is an interesting one. It relates principally to food and water, because no megacity on Earth can feed itself. They all depend on these enormous transport chains that come from all over the planet. So if those chains get cut off by a flood, a climatic event, a war, whatever, that city starves by the end of the week. Basically, it runs out of food in 2 to 3 days. We've seen this happen numerous times. The supermarket's just empty. I would certainly put the effort on the citizens, because that's how you influence government. Government will not do anything unless it's frightened it might lose government. This comes down to individual human beings making a decision about their own survival. In my forthcoming book, How to Fix a Broken Planet, in every chapter where I describe a problem, I describe what the solutions are at the global level, and I also describe what the solutions are at the personal. Climate change, let's get rid of fossil fuels. Personally, here's a list of 200 things that you can do in your own life. It's about all of our survival. This affects peasant farmers in India, herders in Africa, people in Tierra del Fuego. It affects absolutely everybody. It's not just us privileged, white-bearded old farts. If we don't do this, we are stuffed. As a species or as a civilization, we've had it. And I'm seeing more and more people saying that, some of them with good, rational, scientific reasons, and others than just emotion. And I know humans have always predicted the end of the world, but this is a different thing. In this case, the end of the world is actually scientifically attested. And I think people are capable of understanding